What is going on, you guys? It's your boy, the Buddhist Bum here, and we're back with episode 36 of my video game therapy series. Got a little sneak peek at the upcoming Let's Play episode. Hopefully that'll be out within like a week or so, but thought I'd jump on here and continue my rants of bullshit, and why not? For some reason I always feel a little. I mean, I think I mentioned this in like the complaining about complaining episode, like a year or so ago. But there's something cathartic about just ranting about stuff, even if it's quite literally to the void and no one's listening. But it does feel nice to just talk. Especially I think if you're introverted a lot and don't, if you go an entire day or days without speaking to anyone, because I've actually done that. You can go like a 24 or 36 hour period where you literally don't even open your mouth. It's not because you were trying to avoid people. It's just your environment is positioned as such that you naturally don't run into anybody, so that you thus don't talk to anybody for a whole day. So anyway, so we're back. I got plenty of topics to discuss on my list here. The first thing I think is maybe just some frustrations about people in general. I think there's certain things that I fail to, not that I fail to completely understand, because I kind of get the underlying logic behind it. But I fail to understand how people don't recognize certain things as. I don't know. There's just a few bullet points I have written down here that I think are that I don't know why more people don't. They aren't more of a circulating thought, I suppose. If I'm finally able to articulate this point, there are things I think should be more central thoughts and focuses of foci, not focuses, foci of people that they just tend to ignore. I think a big one that it's quite obvious I'm on the side of this, but it's exercise. People that consider, I might have said this before, but people that consider walking exercise are just out of shape people, and those people just really frustrate me. But exercise as a whole, the fact that it's seen as like as a hobby and not like a necessity to me is shocking. People are like, oh, what do you do for fun? It's like, oh, well, I like to, oh shit. I like to exercise or something. It's like, I like to lift weights or run or something. And to me, that should not be classified as a hobby. That should be classified as like, I'm not even sure if there's a polite way to ask the question, but, AKA, how are you not fat? And it's like, okay, well, I do this to make myself not fat. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. But people that don't just have no inbuilt exercise routine, they're not on a frisbee team, or they're not, they don't have a membership at any gym, or they don't ever run, because there really is no like monetary barrier, so to speak, as long as you don't care about what you're doing for exercise. So to that end, like, you could always just run outside, that you can get this free, like, assuming you aren't locked in somewhere and you can't leave, it's totally free to go exercise. Now, if you want, like, and also you can do, like, weightlifting or calisthenics exercises to build muscle that still doesn't really cost anything. Now, it's probably a lot more annoying than to have, like, a nice air-conditioned gym. But there's still nothing really stopping you from exercising. So, I don't know, it frustrates people don't take exercise seriously. And I was thinking about the shortened work week, because people are a proponent of that. Like, oh, we should only work once a week, or whatever the cadence is. I don't know whatever. It doesn't really matter. I think in general the sentiment is we should just reduce the number of days we work, and I agree with that. Only because I think certain people that work in certain occupations don't give themselves time. Not say they don't have time. They don't give themselves the time to exercise, and to me that'll kill you faster than any lack of money, financial insecurity, or anything is being diabetic or something, and just not exercising. And so I would support a shorter work week if it just meant, or just fewer hours to work during the day, because 8 hours is a long time. it's like most of the day that you're spent like doing what exactly, copying numbers from an Excel spreadsheet or talking to someone on the phone about having some long-winded conversation that, ultimately doesn't really mean anything. But I think, if we should shorten the work week, we should make it to where, everyone at 2:00 is exercise time, right? Everyone just goes and exercise, if they go to the company gym and works out, instead of having to like sit on your butt from, 9 to 5 or, 8 to 5 or whatever. And then in your free time, you have to decide that to go work out. It should just be like inbuilt part of the day kind of thing. I don't know. It's always frustrated me that people don't take their exercise seriously. And I guess along that end, which isn't totally people's fault. And I guess the reason I thought about this is I was at the gym. Of course, I can afford the luxury of a nice air-conditioned cool gym. But if I didn't, I'd be doing push-ups outside or something, scaring the kids away from the local park. But I was at the gym and I looked at the TV and I saw that, I don't know, it was just in passing. I didn't like immerse myself in whatever the TV was saying. I just looked up and there was some story, I don't even know what news site it was because I didn't pay that much attention. But they just, they were talking about 9/11 or something and, the terrible terrorist attacks of 9/11. There's, some charity going on to help the survivors of 9/11, which is good. Good for them. Good for them. That's great. And I think that 9/11 happened, was it 22 years ago, something like that? And we're still like making a big deal about it. Not to say that it's not a big deal. I think it certainly was. It's, an act of terrorism, but it got me thinking about, who else should be considered terrorists, and I'm not going to get in the definition of what a terrorist is. And I don't mean to use that word lightly as in, everyone's a terrorist, whatever. But there's an argument to be made, especially if we look at the number of people that are affected by other people's decisions. Because ultimately that's what the people did. People that were adversarial to us made decisions that negatively impacted a couple thousand, or was it 5,000 or something, lives on that day. And people have talked about like domestic terrorists, and so who are they? All right, I would think people that, again, make decisions that negatively impact thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And I can think of a lot more people than just people that, are Islamic or wear turbans or whatever, that whoever is getting blamed for, these terrorist attacks, which I think they're all dead at this point, right? I would have assumed we've killed them all, but people who are directly responsible for that. But, think about the people that, General Mills, that like, create these literal like sugar bomb, diabetes inducing foods that people just, and they make them super cheap. So if poor people have no choice but to just buy this, terrible whole food and eat it. And in some ways that to me is killing people, right? If anything, if we look at the deaths caused by, obesity and other things, it's not like we don't have the technology or ability to make food that is widely accessible and not absolutely terrible for you. It's a conscious decision by, people to, I know this is going to sell better because it is cheap and it is, 10,000 calories. So, and kind of eating good is expensive as fuck. And you either get to eat cheaply and, eat yourself into your grave early, or give yourself some stupid disease, preventable only because you didn't want to spend money on food, or you can drop an absolute bag and a half on, apples, twice a week, or eat the ones that are jacked full of whatever the hell they put in those things now. And I don't know, it frustrates me that some people like are in there counting dimes and pennies and nickels, and then they don't seem to be eating, like thinking that financial insecurity is what's going to kill them. Like, think about what'll end up killing you one day. Will it be you running out of money so that you have to like eat dirt and die or something? Probably not. Okay, it's probably you getting some kind of disease that, in your mind was totally I could have never seen this coming. And not to say that all diseases are deterministic and they're preventable and you can know exactly who's going to get what and when. That's not what I'm saying at all. That's certainly not true. But there are certainly lots of diseases you can prevent just by not eating what some of these companies are pumping out of their factories. And whoever, made the business decisions to sell those things in the first place. And, to me, should be considered domestic terrorists. So, I don't know. That's really my long-winded way of saying, fuck the people that make this cheap, shitty food. And, I place blame on people that can afford to not eat that, but decide to because, it's cheap. When they don't think about, like, the implications of it. And unless it's like a form of assisted suicide, I mean, I guess I kind of get that. Almost like drug users in a sense where, like, obviously doing drugs is not healthy, but some people just don't care in the sense that they don't really want to live that much longer, or they're okay if they just die to an overdose or something, and so they just, it's sad, but some people just literally don't care if they live or die, so they just do drugs to do that. And unless people, are buying, Domino's pizzas with that in mind, which I don't think they are, then I don't know. I just think they're making a poor decision, like the same decision of not to exercise. So I don't know. It frustrates me that people don't seem to don't really care, or think they have no option. And I guess along those same lines, the other thing that pisses me off is when people, they have this illusion of, oh, I don't have a choice. And, my argument is you always have a choice. I don't have a choice to do X, Y, Z. I don't have a choice to do whatever. You could. You just really don't want to. So, like, one example would be like, oh, go, I don't know, take off work to go to the beach or something. I mean, this is a stupid example, but, that's an example. And be like, oh, no, I literally can't. My boss, whatever, this and that. No, you could. You just don't want to because you're, scared most of the time about whatever, your boss is going to say if you, call off work again or something. I don't know. But most of the time when anyone says, oh, I can't, or they literally don't have a choice. They do have a choice, and they just are choosing not to do said thing, which is fine. I just think people should be transparent about what they're saying and what they're doing. So if someone asks me, hey, you want to come to the beach? I'm not going to say, oh, I literally can't, dude. It's no, whatever. I just say, no, I want to work today instead. I'm like, okay, fine. I get that. That's fine. But people that like seem to think, oh, I can't, you can leave the job. You can literally just quit your job. You could, you just don't want to. So it's not that you can't do anything. Like, oh, I literally can't, you could, you don't want to deal with the fallout of, quitting your job, which is fair. Not to say you should quit your job for, a bucket of fried chicken and a day at the beach, but people never seem to consider that they do have a choice. They just are often choosing not to do anything. So, if you hate your job and you're miserable, you could quit your job. Like no one's like, strapping you out of bed in the morning and dragging you to work to do anything. You could quit. You just have to deal with the fallout of it and find another job, which you just don't want to do. So in my eyes, I don't see, oh, I can't do that. No, I see you would rather suffer there for however long you've been suffering and are going to continue to do so. You'd rather do that than to, take any kind of risk in doing that. And what comes down to is people are scared. Not to say that I'm, some Mr. Macho, never scared of anything, is because there's times where I'd make the same decision. But I'm just saying people don't seem to categorize that behavior as fear. But that's literally what it is. It's, oh, I don't want to do this because I'm scared. You're not scared of like, oh, I'm scared of the dark or a monster. You're scared of just what uncertainty is a scary thing. And some people are so scared of uncertainty that they are certain they never want to do anything that makes them uncertain. And the unfortunate reality is the world lives in a nebulous space. It is uncertain by nature. Everything's uncertain. We don't even know. We know the weather about a week out or something, and beyond that, it's uncertain. And that's that's trivial for a lot of reasons. But most other things are equally uncertain for that for that reason. And science as a whole field dedicated to more certainty is just evident of our interest in being certain and certain outcomes. And I think I've rather adopted a stronger opinion that, rather than fearing, uncertainty or avoiding uncertainty, just accept it and kind of live with uncertainty, knowing that you're never going to have all the answers. Like, you're never going to have all the variables. Where, in math class, you got you got an equation and you're always given enough information to answer a problem. There was never a problem that, somebody gave you that did not have enough information to make a, distinction on whether that's correct or incorrect. And that's, that's the nature of academia. It would make sense, imagine having a math test and then, some of the questions don't have enough information. And you literally have to write, I guess there's some that test whether or not there's enough information, but I'm talking generally. Most tests don't have any questions that are like, it's very clear that there's an answer to this somewhere. You just have to think and reason through it hard enough. But in the real world, I would say that most questions don't have all the answers. You have to make speculative guesses on whether or not this is that or this is that. You have to just make up numbers. I think we do this, as engineers in different forms all the time, right? You're just like, oh, well, I have no idea how big this is. I'm going to assume it's a foot by a foot, and then I'll just go from there. And if it's that wrong, I'll fix it later. And I think that is maybe a healthier mindset to have versus being so certain of everything all the time. So bringing it back to the example of people that, there's this illusion of I don't have a choice. You do have the choice, and the choice is between certainty and uncertainty. And you would much rather live in a space of certainty, with everything else is gone, than to accept any level of uncertainty. And I think there's a lot of freedom to be found in uncertainty. Just people don't seek that or care. They'd rather kind of complain about the certainties that they know versus, inquire about the freedoms and in the uncertainty that they don't know. These people are often left wondering what could have been if this or that, or this or that, because they never even challenged or faced uncertainty. So to me, it's frustrating that people don't seem to think in that way. And I guess that's, par for the course. Oh, great. Somebody doesn't think the way I do. Like, congratulations. I'm an idiot for coming to that conclusion of all others. But either way, I just think there's a lot more to discover when you talk about uncertainty in the world. And there's some, catharsis in seeking and finding things that are uncertain and being uncomfortable, because people naturally are uncomfortable when things are uncertain. I think that's why we're scared of the dark, is because we're uncertain of what is out there. And we'd rather know with the lights on. So I guess to challenge yourself, get the hell out of here. Shut your lights off and just stare into the abyss and try to scare yourself or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's my little rant on that. Other things that I'm curious as to why people are not as serious about it. So I talked about like exercise and diet being two main things, and the culprits of those aren't the people themselves always. Like, I think exercise is, I kind of put that on you if you don't choose to exercise ever. It should be built into every, like, it should, that's why we have recess in school. Not to say that school is the testament, but everyone should be exercising in some form regularly. And walking doesn't count. It needs to be like a strenuous exercise where you should be sweating, at least like 4 or 5 times a week. And even that, like, people that, once a week I go, play disc golf or something. Once a week, one time in an entire week, that means 6 days out of the week you are just sitting and doing what? Like nothing. How is that a cadence that is enough to keep you moving? I mean, think even just ancestrally. You really think anybody ever in our evolutionary timeline was able to not move for 6 days? And, not to say you should be exercising for 5 hours a day, but once a week is, even twice a week is an embarrassingly low number of times to be doing stuff. I think everyone should be exercising minimum like 5 or 6 times a week. Maybe one day off, depending on how strenuous your exercise is. But if your exercise isn't that strenuous every day, I mean, I would prefer to do stuff every day, but that's just me. And at a certain point, I don't think it should be this personal preference. It's, I prefer to do light exercise once a week. It's like, no, then you just that's not enough. Versus if you prefer to like to crush it for 6 days and then take a day off, that's fine. But light exercise once a week or twice a week is just not enough. It's literally just not enough. So that's my opinion. So take that and fuck off. So anyway, the other thing that is frustrating to me is people don't. I've been exposed to this more, I think, as of late, just because I've gotten into a bit of a privacy bubble, and I'll be the first to admit that I'm, kind of in this space now where I'm learning a lot about cybersecurity and just even personal security in different ways. Meaning how do we keep private things private? What is privacy important at all? Can we have a functioning world with no privacy? I think most people, at least whether or not they think the world could go on without privacy, I think they enjoy having privacy. I think, would you really want people having a live video feed of you taking a shower? Like, probably not. And if you would, then, there's a platform for you. It's called OnlyFans. But either way, most people want to have some level of privacy. And even like OnlyFans people, they're crying and whatever when they get doxxed. That is a violation of privacy, and having no privacy is a very, very slippery slope. And I can't form all the arguments that are in favor of why privacy is a critical part of a functioning democracy or society as a whole. Not even democracy, as a society. I think people need to have privacy. Your deepest, darkest inner thoughts should not be broadcast to the world, which is ironic considering what this series is. But it still goes through the medium of my head to my mouth, in the sense that I think of something and then I choose whether or not to say it. If there was a live feed if you're somehow able to create text out of the thoughts that I have, I'm sure I would belong in jail with everybody else. It's like, you really think that your thoughts are these pure little clean thoughts? I'm a good Christian boy. I've never thought a bad thing in my entire life. It's like, get off your high horse. All right. Everyone has messed up, deep, dark thoughts that they just don't want to admit it. And if you don't, you're lying. So, if there's no privacy there and somebody can just, use Neuralink to read all my thoughts, and, send them off to Tesla server so Elon can laugh at them, then we're all doomed. I feel like I don't need to belabor that point, I don't think. So, and in some ways we're moving towards these technologies that are more and more, that lose more and more privacy with every new technology. There's a incremental shift away from our personal technology. Even just because it's hot today, there's Apple unveiled their new AR, VR goggles, and they have all these fancy words that they came up to describe the technology. And it's ultimately, they're VR goggles, okay? They're MetaQuest Pro 3 headset or whatever. That's basically what they are. They're just Apple, so they're probably better. Either way, do I want those things scanning my retinas all the time and, glued to my head? What? Don't we want a little bit of separation between humans and technology? And same with, Elon's Neuralink. Is it really something we're going to want to have? Is something, somebody listening, a computer listening while strapped to our brain? And fine, even though let's say we want that, to compete in some cyber warfare or something that the government, has drafted us in. It's not even, it's proprietary. It's not even open source. It'd be one thing if it was open source software that everybody, I could look at it and decide whether or not it's private, right? I could, every, autistic Redditor could go on there and double check to make sure that there's nothing spooky going on. But that just, no, it's not. It's all proprietary. And all this software is, in the sense that there's all, I don't know what any of this code does. So really, you're trusting that? You're trusting some, again, Elon's written software that's going to be jammed inside of our brain to do good things. And I think it stems from people's inaccurate belief that people are innately good, and especially those like with power or authority, that they're looking out for our best interest, like our as in anyone that's not them or their immediate family. You're a fool if you honest to God think that people, especially those in power, have your best interest in mind. They don't. A lot of times they have their own interest in mind. They have money in mind. Not that they need any more money. They have more power in mind. So they don't even act in a good or a bad way. It's just a way that is going to give them more power. So if somehow through some black magic, they're able to give themselves more power by making their software more secure, or protect whatever, they're going to do that because that's their maximizing function is what is going to give me more power. And then, okay, I'm going to do whatever's going to give me more power. And some people are like, oh, he's so benevolent. He did this because he cares about his users. No, he didn't. He did it because it maximizes his function. So if his function's money, then whatever he's going to do is going to be to maximize money. If it's power, then that. And that people, you should loop PR into the same thing. All these, you read a blog article about some great thing that somebody did, and maybe on the surface it sounds like they did a good thing, but why do you think you're reading that? Why do you think they put that out there? Why do you think, can't you see there might be an alternative reason as to why they want everybody to see this? Maybe it's because they want everyone to think that they're good, so it's like you should read into these things a little bit more. And so on the topic of privacy, I just think people don't value that enough either. They just seem to think that people are going to do with their money, their data, their time, their information, all good things. They're going to do good things. Really? Why do you think they would do that? No, they're not. It's not their maximizing function. People are not innately looking out for your best interests. And as unfortunate it is, it's often the only person who's going to look out for you is you. With some family members and as caveats to that, sometimes family members are the ones that screw you over. So it's like, the only one you can really trust to look out for you is you. It sounds, I don't know, cynical, narcissistic, whatever, but it's ultimately true. Let's say you go work at a job and the more you keep saying yes to new work and new stuff, they're just going to, they're going to keep giving you more work and more stuff. And if you never ask for a raise, you never look out for yourself, or you never do anything, you're never going to get one. And so no one's going to say, oh yeah, they're going to look out for you. They're going to look out for you so that it helps them. So if anyone eventually says, oh, we're going to give you a raise, it's because, they're suspicious of, how happy you are, right? The best employee is the dumb one that'll work for free forever and never ask for anything ever and never wants a raise and is just happy as a clam. And you're ripe to take advantage of if you operate in that way. So you have to look out for yourself on a lot of these things. And I think especially with privacy, people don't aren't taking control of it. And the same with like your diet or your exercise regimen. No one's looking out for you to do that. You have to be the one to do it. You can do that through structured means in the sense of you joining a Frisbee team or you doing yoga at the same place every time, like whatever. Although yoga is, there's only specific types of yoga that actually involve exercise. Other ones are just light stretching, which again, light stretching is not getting exercise. It's easier than walking. So, you should be sweating, whatever. You need to be sweating. I don't care what the exercise is. You need to be sweating. That's probably a good litmus test for whether or not it's hard. Are you sweating? I don't care if it's hard to someone else. If you're not sweating doing it, it's probably not hard enough. And even if it's air conditioned, you should still be sweating because body temperature needs to get up. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. But yeah, no one's looking out for your exercise. No one's looking out for your exercise regimen or diet. If you're an adult. In the same vein, no one's looking after your, personal data and privacy, whatever your weird ass Google searches are. So, I don't know, shouldn't you take control of it and attempt to, have some autonomy over what is going on with all that? when you want control over whether or not you're in shape or not, and when you want control over what's happening with your data. So I don't know, people seem to take those things not as serious. And then, to use kind of a popular example that it's unpopular to me saying it, but people care intensely about these very cosmic sized issues, like climate change. And, obviously climate change is a problem, and I'm not saying that we should stop caring about it, but, if you're with all the other personal securities and liberties you've just freely given up or violated, now you're gonna die on the hill of what is a worldly sized catastrophe to think that you have influence over. So in terms of what you have influence over, you individually, I'm not talking about some collective, I'm not talking about a group that you're a part of. You individually, you have infinitely more control over your exercise regimen, what you're eating, and what you're doing with your data, your privacy, what you're doing with your time, what you're doing, with your job, whatever. Then you have more control over that than you do, again, the temperature of literally the entire planet. And to think that you drinking out of glass bottles is significant enough to offset all the burgers you're eating, the math doesn't add up. And my other argument for that is that individuals themselves, again, are not the primary contributors of all of the environmental issues that we're having. It is powerful and wealthy people that are not incentivized to not produce stuff at the expense of the environment. So to think that you're making a difference, while eating, McDonald's or Wendy's is, I'm gonna post on social media. Can I think of a more empty platitude to support something ever? That's like saying I support people exercising, and I just post a picture of somebody else exercising. No, go outside and start to exercise, and then you that would infinitely make your point more than you expressing an empty platitude on some social media site. So that's a different aside. It's a different thing altogether. Either way, people tend to overestimate their ability to influence things on the scale of the climate, but then they seem to underestimate or not care about the influence that they have over their personal body, their mind, their well-being, and their data, which they're just freely giving away. And again, maybe I'm in this little bubble right now, but it doesn't make any sense to me that people don't care about, they're caring about the wrong stuff. And maybe it's some grand scheme by the, powerful elite to subdue the masses or something. I'm not going to get into some weird, wild conspiracy like that. It's very frustrating that people don't, at least for me, in my opinions, to not be reflected by many others, because this is something I think I'm probably right about, probably. So I don't know. That's my thoughts. So anyway, I'll move on to the next thing. I guess also just on the topic of ranting, just because it's convenient to do right now. I don't understand why anyone trusts in conventional journalism anymore. Who even takes that seriously? To me, it's such a mind-bogglingly inaccurate representation of our lives and our subsequent actions that it's not worth spending any time or effort in paying attention to. And it's not to say that I'm you should never read a news article for the rest of your life. I just think I have just such little faith in the field of journalism as a whole that I am probably never going to wholeheartedly believe any journalistic sources ever again. Because if they've done anything for me in my life, is they've just proved me right at every occasion that they're an untrustworthy source of information. Not in the sense that the facts themselves are wrong, because a lot of times what they're saying is probably maybe factually accurate, at least the facts that they're citing. Now the opinion pieces are another thing, but I'm more, I take more beef with what is it that they're actually talking about. Like, what are the issues that they're talking about? And 9 times out of 10, they're talking about quote unquote issues that A, you have no control over. There's nothing you can do to have any control over. B, are irrelevant to your day-to-day life. So stuff doesn't matter. And C, are solely created with the purpose of getting more attention. If nobody is going to watch or read the piece of media, it will not get created because there's no incentive to do so for them. So then, wouldn't it make sense that all that you're seeing online are things that they know that you want to look at and see? And that's not often what is important and or what is relevant to you. In fact, they're sometimes at odds. So to think that the news that journalism produces is relevant and important to know is wrong, because it is primarily what you're gonna click on. It's a function of your attention. It's a function of the attention they know they can get with a news piece. It has nothing to do with what is important or what you have influence over or anything like that. It is just what is going to be clicked on. So I don't know why anyone spends any time reading any news at all. The percentage that is relevant or important to me is often so minuscule that it is never justified in the volume and under which it's being created. It's like, I used to look at iFunny when I was a kid, like in high school and stuff, because iFunny was funny. You'd see a meme that I thought was funny. And perhaps as my sense of humor evolved and as I grew older, I found that the percentage of memes that were funny just got lower and lower and lower. And it got to the point where, I would wait. It'd be every couple days before I would see a meme that would justify the other thousands of crappy memes that I've looked at. And the percentage had just dropped from, things that I thought were relevant and funny. And maybe it's just because I exited a good algorithm or something. The percentage of memes I thought were funny dropped to like 0.0001%, to the point where it was all stupid. None of it was funny or relevant or anything. So I just stopped looking at them, which is, again, I think is pretty normal. But in the same sense, like, I experienced the same fall off with really news media as a whole, in the sense that the percentage of stuff that I think is at all like relevant or useful has literally dropped to such a hilariously low number that it is no longer useful for me to spend any time with it, just because it doesn't justify the other 99.99% of usage. And the same way with memes. So I don't look at memes anymore because 99.99% of them were garbage. So I can't justify the time spent if 99% of what I'm seeing is crap, or it is making me think some certain type of way. In the sense that, and also the sense that people have no control over what some news site publishes. They could be publishing anything that they want, and if they people like to think that they have some altruistic ideas behind their journalism, which is fine. But let's suppose for an example that the owner of some news conglomerate does not have our best interests in mind, and they are trying to push. Let's just say that they are. Again, I'm not saying that they are. Let's suppose that they are, and they are publishing articles and news pieces that are the sole purpose of trying to incite violence and do everything that those conspiracy theorists say that they're doing. They're misinformation campaigns. Yada yada yada. How would you know? You think your eyes is uber critical. You think you can sniff that out on a dime. It's one thing to, have an eye for that, like, talking to a used car salesman, right? I know when a used car salesman is a slick D-bag, but, how do you know when the articles being served you on your phone who, are written by these AI chatbots who are real clever, is whether it's, honest, good facing media or something trying to trick you. You'd have no idea. So in that sense, even running the risk of, being indoctrinated into one of these cycles, it seems like a waste of time to me. And also that it just isn't relevant or interesting to consume. So anyway, I think journalism is dead. I have no faith in it. And the future is bleak for anyone who considers or has a career in journalism. So anyway, yeah. I suppose along those same lines of people that get indoctrinated into certain beliefs, maybe I'm talking to myself here. Just people seem more and more like these, like these guys every day. These NPCs that never have any substance. They say the same stuff. It's not really anything of interest. I can kind of predict a conversation with them before it even happens. The litmus test I have now is, would I rather chat back and forth with ChatGPT than talk to you? And if the answer is I'd rather talk to ChatGPT, then, maybe you're an NPC. And so I don't know. Some days I probably act more NPC-ish than others, but there's a certain amount of unpredictability and, I don't know, fun that some people are talking to that they, quickly let you know that they're not an NPC. There's people that, act in ways that are so beyond predictable that it is not really fun or interesting to engage with them anymore. So, and I think people do it under the idea that, I want to make smart decisions, so I'm going to do exactly what everyone else is doing, which is, to me, is kind of a stupid reason. Like, of all the reasons to be making a decision, doing it because everyone else does it and, they're probably not wrong isn't really, even if it's, a practical decision in one sense, it's not a great way to structure your life, to be as predictable as anyone else, Wouldn't you rather just kind of, let an intuition, guide you or something? As misguided as that might be, I think curiosity is a better compass for, otherwise arbitrary decision making than, everyone else is doing it, so I'm just going to do that. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the optimal, not even optimal, but optimizing for an intriguing life. Making decisions just what everyone else does is not an intriguing life to me. So I'd rather just make my own decisions, and if they're unpopular and wrong, then fine, versus them being just unpopular and right, or popular and right or wrong. At least I can say I made my own decision, it was not a function of I just listened to what everyone else said and did it blindly. So I'd rather just be wrong and be wrong on my own accord than to be right and be forgotten. So anyway, yeah. Something else I came up with that I think I'm going to start using more. I'm known in some circles as the guy that can generate pretty creative insults when needed. And I won't give too many examples here, just to just in case I need to whip them out, against one of my audience members at one point. But an insult that I came up with that I didn't really have a chance to use organically, so I'm just going to share it here instead, is just calling people puppets. I think that's, it's not a new one for sure, but I think the context in which I'm going to use it will often be novel, right? People say, "Oh, this politician is a puppet" or something like that, and I'm not going to do it in that corporate-y sense. I'm just going to, in contexts it would seem unrelated, I'm gonna call people puppets, just because I think it's funny, and it's relevant in some sense, in the sense that people seem to be more NPC-like than ever. So puppet makes sense. They're just a puppet of a I don't know, whatever BS TikToks they're consuming on a daily basis that's creating their only personality. So I don't know. This isn't a genuine. This is more an insult for like my friends and stuff that I think is funny. Calling them puppets is it's a more entertaining and unique insult than other ones. I think I've talked about this before, but I am someone that finds more value in novelty than most. In the sense that if it's different, it gets points from me, even if it's stupid or if it's not, like if it's just wrong. I mean, whatever it is, if it's different, you get some points from me because I think that's with more people seeing and consuming the same stuff, people just become the same things, and novelty will eventually be a commodity that is at least people like me that like seeing stuff that's different, even if it's stupid and wrong. At least it's different, So I don't know. I thought a puppet is a good insult. Muppet is good too, but I think puppet is more directly applicable to something that people can see. I think Muppets, are maybe too associated with those that TV show, whatever it is. I don't know what the hell it is, but I decided on puppet over Muppet. But I'm not going to get into the semantics of why that was my choice. But whatever. Anyway, let's see. Let me look at my thing. Here's one last thing that I kind of thought about and don't really understand about people, because that's kind of the MO of today. But the whole nipples thing, and I don't mean like the free the nipples thing. I don't really care if you, if you want to, if we want to just decide that, female nipples are okay because male nipples are, but just in general, I just think male and female, shirts are just making nipples too obvious in general, and most people now just decide that bras are, optional. I'm not saying you have to. There's any kind of you have to wear this or have to wear that, but I don't really want to. If you're wearing like a white shirt, some translucent white, I don't really want to see everyone's nipples all the time. And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like more than ever, I am just forcibly, everywhere I look, I just see nipples through people's shirts. Fat people, skinny people, males, females, doesn't matter. I'm just seeing too many damn nipples. And I don't care even if they're hot. I don't want to see that many. I don't need to see nipples all over the place. And maybe I'm just someone that's not yet comfortable with everybody's nipples being out all the time, but I didn't get the memo about when we're just going to be, everyone just forgets that, people's decency is just gone, right? I'll just start, having my balls hang out of my shorts, where, not to say that, you have to be decent all the time, but I feel like there's not much value in that anymore. No one really cares. Everyone just kind of wears whatever they want, and just, it makes people uncomfortable. And that just makes me uncomfortable, I guess, right now. It's just nipples all over the place. I didn't really ask to see this many nipples, and I feel like I'm doing something wrong because, generally you don't really see nipples in a, while you're trying to eat or something, or just, you're just at some random place. I'm getting a haircut, and all of a sudden I'm just looking at nipples. Like, I thought there was a context under which it's fine. Again, it's acceptable to have, see these in certain contexts, but I don't think getting a haircut and trying to relax, there's just seems like there's certain places and times under which it seems a little inappropriate to be running around with your nipples out. So I don't know. I never got the memo about why we're all of a sudden gonna, everyone's just gonna run around with their nipples out, but anyway, so I guess I'll stop there. But yeah, it's, I don't know, weird episode. Kind of Haven't done these in a while, so I'm a little out of my forte. So I don't know. Maybe I got too unhinged here, but anyway, I'll hopefully be back soon, making more of these. Be back with a Let's Play pretty soon for sure. So I'll see you guys then. So peace out.